Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming on the last day of Dreamforce. Hopefully you got a cup of coffee or at least a Bloody Mary in you before we wrap up the week here. So welcome to Advanced Reporting Tips and Tricks for New Admins. Before we get started, just a couple of quick questions. How many people here are full-time admins? Okay. Those that are not, how many are sales and marketing roles? Finance operations, HR, IT, something in between? Okay. How many people are on Lightning? Okay, cool. So good mix here. How many people have seen this before? So pretty much everything you're going to see is already available, but keep all buying decisions based on what is actually available. So my name's Creer. I'm founder of Hat-Trick Consulting. We work with companies around the globe to help them achieve their Salesforce goals through administration, development, and training services, and I'm based in Boston. So why am I here? For me, that's a really simple question to answer, and that's because Salesforce changed my life. I'm a recovering sales manager. Proud to say I haven't made a cold call or begged somebody for a purchase order in almost 2 years, and I've never felt better in my life. So I started using Salesforce as an inside sales rep around 2009 and really liked it. Started kind of trying to self-learn just to make my job easier. So I became that kind of accidental admin at a bunch of companies that I worked for. And about 2 years ago, I got tired of having a quota hanging over my head, said I need to make a career change, and really saw the value in helping companies become more efficient and grow through the technology. So I rolled the dice and made that career pivot. Started with Trailhead, obviously really good, useful way to learn things. Then started studying for certifications, and I now have full-time consulting practice with a book of clients. I do a lot of speaking. I spoke at Dreamforce last year, here again, Dreamole in Barcelona, Midwest Dreaming, and started a user group, and also a co-organizer of Northeast Dreaming, which is a community event, a mini Dreamforce that'll be in Manchester, New Hampshire in November. So anybody that is thinking about making that career pivot, or you just want to dive deeper into the ecosystem, it's 100% doable. Trailhead has taken away the barrier of entry for anybody that wants to make their living on the Salesforce platform. And there's so many resources available to you. It just comes down to you putting in the time and effort, but it's 100% achievable. So all the tips and tricks I'm going to show you today, I found the answers mostly on the success community. A lot of them are really simple if you know the functions exist, but at one point I didn't know any of them existed until I found those blog posts by people that were a lot smarter than me and already knew these things were there. So once you understand the capabilities, they really make you a lot more efficient. So today we'll cover cross filters, power of one, custom summary formulas, buckets, join reports, and custom report types. We'll have a bit of an overview of each section, a couple of use cases, and then we'll do a live demo of how we actually created the reports. So the first is cross filters. They allow you to filter reports by objects instead of just fields, and the filters are dependent on the parent object of the report type. So a director of sales is interested in reviewing all accounts with opportunities in order to identify industry trends. A marketing manager wants to see all accounts without contacts so they can utilize data.com to put more names into their marketing funnel. The last one, a sales rep wants to see all contacts that don't have activities so they can begin outreach to those people that haven't been contacted yet. So we will jump over to our demo. And we can see here we have a report of accounts with opportunities by industry. So the sales manager wants to understand the accounts that they have that have opportunities, what that industry analysis looks like. So do we need to put more focus in certain areas, or are we really struggling in others? But you can imagine some companies have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands accounts in their database. So scrolling through all those is really not the best way to do that. So they want to weed out all the ones that have zero opportunities so they can only concentrate on the ones that are actually have some pipeline ability at the time. So to do that, it's really simple. We'll edit our report here. And we'll look at our filters. and we see our cross filter here. And cross filter is really a with or without statement, right? So we're looking here, we can see accounts as the only option there, and that's based on the report type. So if we were looking at an opportunities report, that would be what you would have in that field. And then it's a with or without statement here. And then we have our secondary object, and we can see all the other objects that are related to accounts. So really simple, easy to use, really filters things out really well, and kind of helps you with that analytics. So we will look at our second one. So now that manager had looked at that, said, okay, biotech was the biggest bucket for us. We want to put some more money behind that, get some more marketing dollars. So create a couple more accounts in that industry, and then says to the marketing manager, we haven't seen any new leads or new opportunities coming in from those accounts from biotech. Why is that? And the marketing manager says, I didn't know you had those accounts in there, so there's no contacts on them, right? So I don't know if your companies are the same as the clients that I work with, but sales and marketing are always 100% on the same page, right? Didn't think so. So now the marketing manager needs to figure out which accounts were added that don't have contacts so they can get some into the funnel. So it's the same type of function. We had a with before. We're going to look at a without now. And again, same thing. We have our accounts, without, and then contacts. So for our final one, we'll look at contacts without activities. So my second job out of college, I worked for a software startup, and every Friday at 4:30, my manager had a call with me to go over what I did that week and more importantly, what I didn't do that week. It sucked. I hated it. 4:30 on a Friday, I want to log out. I want to go have a beer. I do not want to rehash the entire week. So after about a month of it, I'm like, this is for the birds. I got to figure out a way to make these calls easier and get them over with. So I started creating some reports for myself to make sure I didn't miss things. And this was a perfect example. So you can imagine a rep adds names or contacts or leads. They're looking on LinkedIn. They're putting people in the database. It's expected they should be contacted by that person within a certain period of time. So this report here, we can see we have a column here for last activity, which is blank. It's just in there basically as a second validation to reconfirm that these people have not had any activity yet. But we will take a look inside. And we have contacts without activities, right? Just like the other two examples, but we can also nest these. So we could add another cross filter, say contacts without activities, but contacts with opportunities. Now I know I really have to focus and contact these people before that 4:30 call on Friday, because if I have an opportunity and I have no activities there, I know that's going to be a problem. So it's a good way to leverage those filter capabilities. Okay, so the next is Power of One. And it allows you to summarize and count objects and reports. It's a new custom formula field. I recommend you put it on every object in your org. And I think it's a best practice to name the field the same as the object, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. So I heard about this from a blog post by Steve Mo. I don't know if anybody's heard of him. Really smart guy, MVP from Boston, really entertaining speaker. He credits former Salesforce employee Tom Tobin with teaching it to him at a previous Dreamforce. And we're going to use this in a bunch of different ways throughout the rest of the presentation. It's a really powerful tool. So a sales director wants a report that shows the pipeline summary by stage that breaks down the number of opportunities, accounts, and products. Take a peek at our demo. And we can see here we have a pipeline funnel by stage. And then we have a bunch of columns there, right? So we have record count, we have opportunities, accounts, opportunity products, and products. So a lot of people look at that record count column and think they're done. I have no idea what that's counting in this report. I almost never use record count unless I'm doing a singular object. So if I'm just looking at accounts, then I think it's useful. Other than that, it's really misleading what it's actually counting. So those other 4 columns, they're all formulas. And a report like this, a manager is going to use to look to see, do we have too few opportunities that are tied to, say, 1 or 2 big customers, where if we don't close that initial deal, or if the relationship goes south, are we really going to take a big hit? Or on the product level, we really heavily weighted on that new product that we just found out is going to be delayed in delivery a month or 2. That can crush a quarter for a company. So it's really a report to gather the health of what the pipeline looks like. So to see how we did our formulas, we'll hop over to setup here. And we'll look at our objects, and we'll go to accounts. And we'll look at the field, and we can see here we have a field called account. And let's see, number formula with no decimals. And then the really, really complicated part is the actual formula itself, which is right there. It's just literally the number 1 in that big white box. You type that in there, and that is your entire formula. And now that allows you to count those records for the objects in all of your reports. You can use it in a lot of other ways too, which I'll show you. So we can see here, I named it accounts, and I said it's best practice to name it the same as the object. So when I found this blog post, I'm like, oh, this is great. This solves my problem. I went and I put it on every object in one of my customer orgs, and I named every single one of them the power of 1. So when I'm looking at this report, I had 4 columns called the power of 1, and I had no idea which was which object. So I had to go back and fix that. Next is custom summary formulas. And these are used to calculate totals in summary matrix and join reports. They're based on numeric fields, which can be summarized. And they're unique to the report. So these are not fields. They don't live on your objects. They only live in the report itself. So if it's something you're going to use repeatedly, it's probably a better idea to actually create formula fields on your objects. But if it's only for reporting purposes and a couple of reports, it's really useful to do it just in the report itself. You're not taking up unnecessary fields or storage, that sort of stuff, for things you're not going to use repeatedly. So marketing department needs to know what percentage of leads created were converted. And then you want to give the sales team a visual representation of where sales are compared to their goals. So 2 very common use cases here. So we'll go to our reports. And for the lead conversion, I'll show you 2 ways to do this, right? So the first one we're looking at here, this is straight out of the box. All we've done here is we've grouped it by is converted. So very basic, it's giving you your answer right away. But it doesn't allow you to do trend analysis. It doesn't allow you to use it within formulas for other analytics, that sort of thing. So another option is to use a custom summary formula within the report. So we can see here the vertical bars are the number of leads, and then the horizontal line is your conversion rate. And to do that, we've used a custom summary formula, which we can see in that right column, which is conversion rate. And to do that, we can see down here we have our formula, and it's converted sum divided by lead.leads sum, right? And that looks a little weird, right? Lead.leads. The reason for that is that's the power of 1 on the leads object. So we're using that within a custom summary formula in our report. And to create the formula, we'll open our editor. Really simple. We select our fields, and then we have all of the functions available that we can use in our formulas, as well as all of our division or addition, whatever we're trying to do. So it's just taking that out-of-the-box capabilities and taking it one more step to allow us to do a little more. All right, now we'll take a look at our sales to goal. So I wrote this report specifically for one of my customers. I was visiting their office, and the sales director is sitting at her desk, and she's got Papers all over the place. She's got Excel open. She's typing stuff back and forth, going like this. She's swearing. I'm like, what's the matter? What are you doing? She's like, we're trying to figure out if our sales reps, as well as the team, if we're above or below our goal. And I said, well, where are you getting the data from? And she said, Salesforce. And I said, then why aren't you doing it in Salesforce? And the reason is they weren't using forecasting, and they didn't have their goals anywhere in their org. There was no field, there was no object, there was nothing to capture what their goals were. They had business reasons why they weren't doing that, and I said, well, we can still do that. We can just do it right in the report. It'll save you time, and it'll give you that clear indication of where everybody stands. So again, we have our vertical bars here. That's basically what's been closed won for that month. And then the horizontal line is their goal. So this is a very simple use case where their goal is static. It doesn't change. It's the same for every month. And we can see here in our columns, we have our monthly goal, which again is static. We have our percentage to monthly goal. We have the annual goal, and then percentage to annual goal. And those are 4 separate custom summary formulas in this report that makes this happen. So we'll look at the first one here. We have monthly goal, and this is ABS and then 500,000. All ABS means is absolute value. So whatever we put in those parentheses, that's gonna show up in every row in that column. So again, simple use case. If your goals change monthly or quarterly, you can make them more complex. So it could say, if month equals 1, goal equals X. If month equals 2, goal equals Y. Depending on how complicated your goals or forecast might be, you may be better off doing it in an actual formula field on an object, but this is another way to do it as well. So we'll look at our second, and this is, again, it's just taking that total amount sold, and we're dividing it by that 500,000, so our monthly goal, and that's telling us the percentage to that monthly goal. For the annual, exactly the same thing, right? We have ABS instead of 500K, it's now 6 million. And then for the percentage, again, we're taking the total sold, dividing it now by that 6 million annual goal. If we open up our editor here, we can also see the format here. So for those 2 annual, we're only showing them on the grand total, so they're just on the bottom line. For the 2 previous, they were on every row, so we would have selected that all summary levels. So it's a good way to take a peek at that and understand whether you need it on every row or if you just want it on the totals. Next, we'll talk about buckets. So buckets allow you to categorize a group of values, and you can use a custom name for each of your bucket. They do not require formulas or fields. So I compare these to your opportunity stage forecast. So when you're setting up your opportunities, the things that are in prospecting might go into pipeline or forecast, where things that are waiting for PO or in your commit phase. It's a similar idea. So you're tasked with creating a sales by region report. So opportunities from accounts in the US and Canada should be combined into North America, and all the countries in Europe would go into Europe. And then a sales manager wants to determine what portion of the pipeline is owned by senior sales reps versus new hires. So we'll show you a couple examples of this. So we have our sales by region report, and we can see we have things in NA, we have things in Europe, we have things in other. So we'll edit this and we'll see how we did that. And we can see right here on the left, we have our bucket column. There's a little bucket icon right there on the header. And we'll edit this just so we can see, right? So we select our field up here in the top left. We name our bucket whatever we want to call it. And then to add new buckets, really simply, we just hit add new bucket. So we'll say we want to add one for, say, Asia. and then we want to put a value in there. So we'll look at our values, and we can see China. That makes sense. We'll put that in Asia. We just hit move to, and now we've done. So now move that into that bucket. We can apply, and now we have that bucket in there. So really good use case to categorize things. If you're taking several values and you want to put them in literally a bucket, good way to do that. And we had a bunch in that original chart that were in other. And the reason for that is because we had this box checked here. If we uncheck that box, they're just going to show up in a row, but it'll be blank. So really, do you want them called other, or do you want to see them blank? They're still going to show up unless you filter out anything that didn't have a value. So we'll look at our next report. So our opportunities by rep status. So this is a report that a manager would look at to understand budgeting as well as their growth. So if they're trying to hire more reps, obviously your senior reps are probably getting paid more than your new hires. So you want to make sure that they're delivering that value, right? If your new hires are only getting about 25% of your budget for salary and they're outperforming the other 75%, that's not a good thing, right? So you want to be able to identify that clearly. So we use the bucket to do this. And we'll take a peek in here. And we can see this is a simple example where we've done this by literally on the user level. So I've put one user in one bucket, one in the other. We could use something like role hierarchy. So if you're using that, BDRs can go in your new hires, account executives may go as your senior. So it's another use case just to take a different field. But any field you have in your org, you can use buckets for, then determine whether you want to put all those values into certain buckets if you only want to discount some of them. So next is join reports, and they allow you to view different types of information within a single report. You can create up to 5 blocks. It requires report builder permission. This is beta in Lightning, so it just came out recently. Before that, you would have to flip over to Classic to see this. It's on the roadmap for one of the next coming releases. I don't know exactly which one it'll be completely live. So a sales director would like one report that shows sales for month, year to date, and last 12 months. Take a look at our demo. And we can see here, we basically have 3 blocks for those time periods. Another way to do this would be simply create a dashboard and you have a chart for each one of these time periods. Some managers just prefer to have it in a report. But there's also other reasons why we might want to use the report as opposed to a dashboard. So to see how we did this, we'll open it up. And we can see up top here, we have our filters basically for each of those time periods. So month, year, last 12 months. And it's our normal reporting filters that are used. So we've just used close date and then set those time parameters. And then we have our blocks down here. And again, you can have up to 5 of those. So to add another one, it's really simple. All we're going to do is drag a column over to the far right of the last block. And when we let it go, now our block's created. So we can now go in here and we can edit this to say last 24 months. And then we would just update our filter for the time period. And now we've added a new block. The other valuable thing is you can add different types of data within this. So we have 4 basically blocks right now that are all looking at opportunities. But what if we want to look at leads at the same time? We can do that with the join report. So we click this button up here that says add report type, hit say leads, hit OK, and now it's added that in there. And then we can pull out the columns that we don't want. We can add in the other lead field columns that we do, and you can filter it on, say, something like create a date or something completely different. So it's a really good way to get different types of data into one report without doing a dashboard. So if it's something that might not be used a lot, people don't or just don't want a dashboard, it's a good way to do that. So you can put things into one view for them. All right, our last section, custom report types. They like to create more complex reports that aren't provided with the standard out of the box. You can include up to 4 objects. They have a primary and secondary object, which must be related. And then you can choose whether or not the secondary object has records or not. You can also select which fields are available in the report type itself when you create it. So the marketing manager would like to see what activity volume campaigns are driving with visibility to the contact level. Right? So we can pretty easily see a campaign and then the contacts associated to that. We can look at contacts and see all the activities, but having that straight line visibility from a campaign to a contact to activities is not easy. It's not really available out of the box. So to do that, we've created a custom report type to do so. So we will go to setup and we'll look at how we created our report type. And we can see here we have our activity volume by contacts, and we'll edit this. So we've selected campaigns as the primary, contacts as the secondary, when we've said every campaign must have contacts. So these two little check boxes here determine whether or not those primary objects have related secondary objects. So we've said the campaigns have to have contacts here, but contacts may or may not have activities associated with them. And then if we look at our layout, we'll look at, say, a contact field, and we can see it's not grayed out. So this contacts field isn't available in the report. And to put it in there, we just literally drag and drop, and this contacts field is the contacts from the power of 1. And the reason we have to do this is because when you create your report type, so if I create a report type today, whatever fields are in that are there. If I add new custom fields to, say, contacts 2 weeks from now, they're not available when you use this report type to create a report. And it's really frustrating, and I actually just found out this week it's on the roadmap to be changed in one of the upcoming releases. But you have to literally remember to go back there and add those in there, because it's frustrating as heck when you're trying to create a report and you're saying, why isn't this field here? It's on this object. This is the reason why. You have to go and edit the report type layout. So we'll take a look at our report here. And we can see we're looking at our activity volume for the October newsletter. I use these reports a lot as like callback sheets for the reps. So if you have, say, a webinar, or if you had a booth at Dreamforce and all those people are coming by and you're scanning badges or they're dropping business cards in the fishbowl, the reps need to follow up with those people. So how do they know who to follow up with? So I use a report like this, and we can see on the right side we have a column called activities. Again, that's the power of 1 within this report on the activities object. And we could filter this out and make it dynamic so that when the reps make contact with somebody, they would fall off. So we would just put a filter on there that says if activities equal 0, then you're only looking at the people you need to follow up with, and the people you've already reached out to fall off that report. But really easy way for the reps to understand who they've contacted, who they haven't, based on a specific campaign, and what that activity level on that campaign is, right? And campaigns cost money, marketing dollars, sales time, so you really want to understand what sort of activity level is being generated and then relate that back to your pipeline and actually close deals. All right, some resources for you. So I think, how many people are not on Trailhead? Nobody has no badges, not on Trailhead. Awesome. It's certainly the most valuable tool out there to me because it's free. They're always adding new modules. There's a lot of hands-on work there. They're a really good way to learn. Certifications are great. They're a great way to legitimize your skill set. They're a good way to market yourself to employers. I have 4 of them. They're hard. Out of the 4 of them, there's only 1 I pass on the first time. No matter how good you are, there's going to be areas you're going to have to study that you haven't used before, don't know exists, right? I was a sales rep and director for 10 years, had used Salesforce that whole time. I thought Sales Cloud was going to be the easiest thing I did. I said, I'm going to take the Sales Cloud Consultant one. I'm going to breeze through this. Didn't happen. It's hard. Trailblazer community is awesome, right? We have so many good people that are willing to give their time and knowledge back to each other. We have MVPs like Amanda Midzinski. We have CTAs like Steve Baines who are answering your questions sometimes almost in real time. And that's the first place I go when I don't know how to do something or I'm trying to find a better way to do something. Every single one of these tips, that's how I found them. It's the first thing I do every single day. I log in, I read a couple of questions that were answered, and then I read a couple unanswered questions and try to answer them myself if I can. User groups, great way to network, great way to learn. I get involved with the New Hampshire user group. It was my first time ever working with the Salesforce user group. They had a study group for the platform app builder exam. Penny Savage, Steph Sisson, and Rob Kaplan put it together. There are about 12 of us. We met weekly for, I think, 8 weeks in the back room of a bar, which I thought was ingenious on their part because everybody came every week. We'd have a couple of pops, and we got 2-person teams, and somebody presented on an area each week, so you didn't have to learn everything yourself. So it helped me prep for that exam, but it really introduced me to some great people, and I really saw the value in being part of a user group, which is why I started one myself. Learning events, so good news, everybody here is already doing this, right? Things like Dreamforce, things like Northeast Streaming. Great way to learn, again, great way to network. Great way to see product roadmaps, understand what's coming from Salesforce as well as the App Exchange vendors, right? So there's things that everybody in here wants to improve for their organization or for their customers. Great way to find those things out ahead of time. Final one is find a mentor, right? Like I said, the ecosystem in Salesforce is awesome because people are willing to give back. So a mentor could be somebody more senior in your organization. It could be somebody you meet at a user group, could be an MVP, could be somebody you follow on Twitter. There's a million ways to connect with people, but don't be shy about that because people really are willing to give back. I certainly know I am. I've, like I said, been able to change my career path. I've gotten a lot out of this, so I like to give it back to other people and help if I can, and there's a lot of people that are willing to do that. So I hope this is going to help you guys make some better business decisions, better insights. I think it's going to make understanding and visualizing data simpler. It's going to add a lot of value to your users to be able to produce what they're looking for, what's going to help them make actionable decisions. And I think it's going to make your jobs a lot easier. So thank you very much for being here. I'll hang out up front. If you have any questions, come on up and see me. But thanks again.